What if the reason your business isn't growing has nothing to do with your idea? Maybe your product is good. Maybe your website looks professional. Maybe you've spent months planning, researching, improving, and preparing. And yet, nobody is buying. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You may not need another strategy. You may need to stop preparing and start selling. Michael Masterson's Ready, Fire, Aim presents a radically different approach to building a business. You don't need to be completely ready before you begin. You begin, you learn, you sell, you fix what isn't working, and then you build. Because the biggest danger for an entrepreneur isn't failure. Sometimes, it's spending 2 years preparing for a business that nobody wants. And by the end of this video, you'll understand the 4 stages of business growth, why most entrepreneurs get stuck in the first stage, and how to know what you should actually be focusing on right now. 1. The trap of being ready. Imagine 2 entrepreneurs. The first spends 6 months creating the perfect product. They research competitors, they redesign the logo, they build the website, they write the perfect business plan, they wait until everything feels right. The second entrepreneur creates something simple. They put it in front of customers. And someone says, "I don't want this." So they change it. Another customer says, "I'd pay for this, but I need something different." They change it again. Another customer buys. Now they know something important. The market has answered. 6 months later, the first entrepreneur has a beautiful business nobody has tested. The second has something much more valuable: customers. This is the central idea behind Ready, Fire, Aim. Don't confuse preparation with progress. Preparation can feel productive because you're doing something, but sometimes you're simply avoiding the uncomfortable part, asking people to pay you. And this is where psychology enters the picture. The human brain loves certainty. Planning gives you certainty. Selling gives you rejection. Building gives you control. The marketplace takes control away from you. So your brain says, "Let's work on the website a little longer." But what it may really be saying is, "Let's avoid finding out whether people actually want this." What should you do today? Take whatever you're building and ask, how can I get this in front of a real customer faster? Not next month. Not when it's perfect. Now. 2. The first priority is not perfection, it's sales. Here's one of the most important ideas in the book. A business cannot survive without sales. It doesn't matter how beautiful the product is. It doesn't matter how brilliant your technology is. It doesn't matter how passionate you are. If customers don't buy, you don't have a business. You have a project. And there's a major psychological difference between the two. A project can survive on your excitement. A business has to survive on customer demand. This is why sales are so important in the early stage. Sales aren't simply about making money. Sales give you information. Every customer conversation tells you something. Why did they buy? Why didn't they buy? What did they hesitate about? What problem are they actually trying to solve? What would make them buy more? That's incredibly valuable information. Think about it. You could spend 3 months guessing what customers want. Or you could ask 10 customers. The second option is usually faster, and sometimes brutally honest. That's a good thing, because reality is the best business consultant you'll ever have. 3. The first stage finds something people want. Masterson's framework focuses on different stages of business growth. And the first stage is about getting the business moving. You need traction, you need customers, you need revenue, you need to discover what works. Imagine you're selling a new fitness program. You might believe people want a complete 12-week transformation system, but customers might actually say, "I just want to lose 5 kilograms without spending 2 hours at the gym." That difference matters. Your original idea isn't necessarily the customer's problem. The customer tells you what the real problem is. This is why successful businesses constantly listen to the market. They don't fall in love with their original idea. They fall in love with solving the customer's problem. And this brings us to a powerful mindset shift. Don't ask, how do I sell my product? Ask, what does my customer desperately want? Then build your offer around that. What should you do today? Write down, who is my customer? Then write, what problem are they already willing to pay to solve? If you can't answer that clearly, don't build more. Investigate. 4. The second stage, stop being the entire business. Now something interesting happens. You start getting customers. Revenue increases. Things become exciting. And then you become overwhelmed. You're answering emails. You're selling. You're managing employees. You're handling customer service. You're fixing problems. You're doing accounting. You're posting on social media. You're doing everything. And at first, this feels like success. But eventually, you discover a painful truth. You didn't build a business. You built a job for yourself. This is one of the biggest transitions in entrepreneurship. The founder has to stop asking, how can I do everything? And start asking, how can I build systems so everything doesn't depend on me? This requires a psychological shift. When you're small, doing everything yourself feels efficient. But as the business grows, your own productivity becomes the bottleneck. You become the person slowing the company down. Imagine a restaurant owner who personally approves every order, answers every complaint, schedules every employee, and checks every transaction. The business can't grow beyond the owner's attention. So the solution isn't work harder. It's build a system, document the process, train someone, delegate responsibility, measure results, improve the process. Now the business can operate without requiring the founder to touch everything. What should you do today? Look at everything you do repeatedly. Pick one task that someone else could eventually perform. Document how you do it. That tiny step begins turning a job into a system. 5. The third stage, grow without destroying the business. Now we reach a fascinating problem. A company can be successful and still fail. Why? Because growth creates complexity. More customers, more employees, more products, more expenses, more decisions, more opportunities. And suddenly, the entrepreneur who was excellent at building a small business becomes overwhelmed trying to manage a larger one. This is where systems, management, and financial discipline become critical. Growth isn't simply sell more. Growth means, can the business handle selling more? Imagine a company that suddenly gets 10 times more customers. Sounds fantastic. But what if customer service collapses? What if delivery becomes unreliable? What if costs explode? What if quality drops? What if the owner has no idea what's happening? Revenue can increase while the business becomes weaker. This is why entrepreneurs need to think beyond sales. You need processes. You need people. You need financial controls. You need metrics. And most importantly, you need to know what numbers actually matter. 6. Stop confusing revenue with success. Here's a mistake that destroys businesses: celebrating revenue without understanding profit. Someone says, "We made $1 million this year." Sounds impressive, but what if they spent $950,000 to generate that revenue? The business made $50,000. And if the owner worked 80 hours a week to make it happen, the result might not be as impressive as it sounds. This is why entrepreneurs need to understand the economics of their business. Know your revenue, costs, profit, customer acquisition cost, average customer value, cash flow, because growth without economics can become expensive chaos. And there's another psychological trap here. People love big numbers. Revenue feels exciting. Profit is quieter. But profit is what gives the business oxygen. What should you do today? Open your business numbers. Ask 3 questions. How much comes in? How much goes out? How much do I actually keep? If you don't know those numbers, Make understanding them your priority. 7. The power of focus. There's another lesson hiding inside the ready, fire, aim philosophy. Don't try to solve every problem simultaneously. Entrepreneurs are naturally attracted to opportunities. You see a new product, a new market, a new platform, a new business idea, a new technology, and suddenly you're working on 5 things. The problem? Your attention is divided. And divided attention creates mediocre execution. Imagine trying to push 5 cars at once. You might be moving all of them, but none of them very far. Focus gives you leverage. Ask, what is the single biggest problem preventing my business from growing right now? Maybe it's sales. Maybe it's customer retention. Maybe it's hiring. Maybe it's cash flow. Maybe it's leadership. Solve that. Then move to the next bottleneck. This is much more powerful than constantly chasing new ideas. 8. Why ready, fire, aim works. Now let's return to the title. Ready, fire, aim. It sounds reckless, but that's not really the point. The idea isn't, do stupid things without thinking. It's, don't wait for perfect certainty before taking action. You get ready enough. You fire. Then you use the results to adjust your aim. Think about launching a product. Traditional thinking says, ready, aim, fire. Prepare, plan, research. Perfect. Then launch. The problem? Your assumptions might be wrong. Ready, fire, aim says, ready, fire, learn, adjust. Action creates information. Information improves your next action. And this is where psychology matters again. Because action forces you to confront reality. Your ego may want to be right. The market doesn't care. Your plan may be beautiful. The customer doesn't care. You may believe your product is amazing. The customer decides whether it's worth paying for. And that's actually liberating, because you don't have to predict everything. You can test. 9. The entrepreneurial mindset. There is one deeper lesson behind all of this. Building a business requires you to become comfortable with being wrong. You will make mistakes. You'll launch something nobody wants. You'll hire the wrong person. You'll underestimate costs. You'll overestimate demand. You'll change direction. You'll have ideas that fail. That's normal. The dangerous entrepreneur isn't the one who makes mistakes. It's the one who becomes emotionally attached to avoiding them, because then they stop experimenting, they stop listening, they stop changing, and eventually, the market changes without them. The best entrepreneurs aren't always the people with the best predictions. They're often the people who can learn fastest. That's a completely different skill. 10. Your 90-day ready, fire, aim challenged. So let's turn the ideas from this book into something practical. For the next 90 days, don't ask, how can I build the perfect business? Ask, what can I test? Days 1 to 30 sell. Focus on customers. Talk to people. Test offers. Make sales. Find out what people actually want. Don't hide behind preparation. Days 31 to 60 systemize. Once something works, document it. Create repeatable processes. Delegate where possible. Track the numbers. Turn successful actions into systems. Days 61 to 90 scale. Now look for leverage. Better marketing. Better sales systems. Better employees. Better customer retention. Better economics. Better processes. The goal isn't simply to work harder. It's to make the business produce more value without requiring proportionally more of your time. Conclusion. Maybe you've been waiting for the right moment, the right idea, the right amount of money, the perfect website, the perfect plan, the perfect level of confidence. But what if the perfect moment never arrives? What if confidence comes after action rather than before it? What if clarity comes from testing rather than thinking? And what if the business you're dreaming about isn't built by one brilliant decision, but by hundreds of small decisions made after reality gives you feedback? That's the deeper lesson behind ready, fire, aim. Start before you know everything. Get your offer in front of people. Listen, sell, measure, fix, systemize, scale, and keep moving. Because you don't need to know exactly where the road ends before taking the first step. You just need enough courage to move, and enough humility to change direction when reality tells you to. If this video gave you one idea you can actually use, comment below with the one thing you've been overthinking instead of acting on. And if you're building a business right now, tell us where you are: idea stage, first customers, growing, or trying to scale. Your answer might help someone else watching this video. If you enjoy learning about business, money, psychology, decision-making, and the mental models behind success, subscribe to Rewire Your Brain. New videos every week. Because sometimes the difference between an idea and a business isn't another year of planning. It's one decision to finally fire. Key takeaways. 1. Action creates information. You often learn more from testing than from endless planning. 2. Sales are the lifeblood of a business. A great product means little if customers don't buy. 3. Build systems as you grow. If everything depends on you, you've created a job rather than a scalable business. 4. Understand your numbers. Revenue isn't the same as profit or financial health. 5. Learn faster than your competition. Successful entrepreneurs adapt when reality proves their assumptions wrong.